Hey YouTubers, and welcome back to another Dragon Ball Super video. On this video today, we're going to be discussing my theory on how you would bring Baby into Dragon Ball Super. And you guys know that I wouldn't bring anyone onto these videos if it wasn't MJ from GeeklistTV. MJ, why don't you say hello to everybody? Thank you for not interrupting me.
Oh, you're welcome, bro. This is going to be a well-documented video, a video for the history book, so I am paying my respects. This is going to be a legendary video. I'm sure all of you read the title. Y'all saw the thumbnail. A video in the making, or history in the making. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm MJ. Thank you for having me here.
Anyway, so yeah, we were talking about this, and MJ was kind of helping me flesh this idea out, and we're going to basically just talk about it right now. But that is, how do you bring Baby into Dragon Ball Super?
You don't.
Okay, yeah, the end of the video. There you go. But anyway, guys, how do you bring Baby into Dragon Ball Super in a way that's unique, different on its own take, and, you know, continuing off the story that they're building up right now? And just so y'all know, so what MJ and I have been doing a couple of these videos in the past, and we've been talking more so about the Tournament of Power or anything like that. One of the things that we discussed that should be on my channel, and I'll link it in the description section below, right under MJ's channel, so please go check that out, but is, what do you do after this arc? How do you give us a short little filler arc? And we discussed that maybe you do a Yosun Goku and his friends return adaptation into the main series in the canon. But what do you do after that? What's the next main arc after that? And I think we got an idea. So everyone has been clamoring, everyone has basically been wanting to see, ever since the last arc, the Champa arc with the tournament, Vegeta wanting to go to Planet Sidal. Everyone wants to see Planet Sidal, the Universe 6 Saiyans, and everything else. And they've teased it in this arc. I mean, with Caulifla and Kale and Renzo and, you know, the biker gang of Saiyans that are misfits and everything like that. They've teased it, but we haven't necessarily seen that planet to begin with. So I say, introduce Baby in Universe 6 Saiyans and Planet Sidal and that entire arc that everybody's been wanting, and give us a Baby-like villain, or even just like a Baby ripoff like Kale is to Broly, and introduce some kind of a invasion of the body snatchers type of situation. So Kale, Caulifla, and Kaba basically returning from whatever happy ending this tournament has, because we all know this tournament's going to have a huge happy ending. They're supposed to return, they're like returning, the universe saved or something like that, but they return to Planet Sidal. They think that they're going to like be greeted with a warm welcome, celebratory, like, yay, thank you for saving our universe, because they know the stakes involved. But when they get there, everything is just basically normal, but not necessarily normal as it would be in any other situation. People are a little bit more aggressive than they usually are. People are still civil, but it's just weird, you know, something's not right, and everyone is like that besides Kale, Caulifla, and Kaba. So, you know, Kaba gets a little worried and everything, so he goes and he finds Renzo, who is also way more aggressive than when we actually saw him. And then they go to the king, who's also still aggressive and everything, and it turns out that, like Universe 7, Universe 6 also has a planet with Tuffles. and when the Tuffles, instead of actually being taken over by the Saiyans and everything in Universe 7, instead of being kind of a docile race, they're actually kind of a race of mad geniuses. They're way too technologically advanced, and they create an entity that is essentially known as Baby, who decides that it's going to take over the universe, and in order to do that, it needs to build an army of strong warriors. So it basically starts on Planet Sidal and moves and wants to conquer all the other universes or the multiverse or something else like that. And it starts and it keeps, you know, infecting to even the point where maybe it infects Caulifla, maybe it affects Kale, and Kaba has to get Vegeta and Goku into Universe 7 or 6, go to Planet Sidal, so we get our entire arc, and they have to fight Baby.
I really love that idea. There's a few points I want to bring up. Is you brought up the whole Tuffles being like mad geniuses or like being like mad scientists in like this in Universe 6, you know. I think that fits because if I remember correctly, the Tuffles were supposed to be a peaceful race in Universe 7. So it's kind of funny that even though they're mirror images, they're kind of opposites. And what I mean by that is you look at Universe 7 Saiyans, they're very different than how Universe 6 Saiyans were brought up. Then you look at Frieza and Frost, even though in the show, for some reason, they refer to them as the exact same. They're not the exact same because if you actually break it down, Frost is different. He's like a dirty businessman, whereas Frieza is like a prick who likes to torture people. And it's pretty much shown that they are different in that, you know, and like Frieza, he don't care if he'll blow himself up just to win a fight, where Frost wants to ensure that he survives, you know, like he survives everything. So they are different. They do have different personalities to a degree. I can keep going on and on here. So the point with that is that the Tuffles kind of being like the opposite of what they were in 7. That's kind of cool, kind of lingers on to the fact that they are mirror images. However, they do have like a different personality. And plus, here's something to bring up. What if, I mean, they just want to get revenge on the Saiyans for some reason, because the Saiyans are freedom fighters. They go out and fight villains. So what if somehow they got into it with the Tuffles for whatever reason and they wanted to get revenge on the Saiyans? And the reason why I say that is because just like how a cop, you know, gathers enemies. You know, I mean, people who want to get revenge on him for whoever he rests, you know, or whatever, stuff like that. So that could play into something like that as well. I mean, it's a bit different from what you were going for, but either way, I think it would make sense for the Freedom Fighters, the Universe 6 Saiyans, to kind of come into interaction with the Tuffle sooner or later, whether it's a bad way or whether it's just baby being born and he wants to infest stronger people, so of course he has to plant us at all, you know what I mean? The warrior race. So either way, I think it's kind of cool that they'll play into each other like that. However, though, I do disagree with you on this. I don't think Renzo should get taken over. I think the fact that he lives like in the, I guess like the boonies of that area, that may actually protect him. And just imagine how cool it will be if Khalifa and Kel get taken over, and how Khalifa and Kel get taken over, and Khalifa's like supposedly stronger than Kaba according to the recent episode. If we want to take that into account, Kaba's struggling with Khalifa. He can't escape, but then Renzo comes in and he has to fight his own sister and to save Kaba, his former student. I think that would be like a real cool moment, you know, because Kaba does still look up to Renzo, and Renzo would kind of be sacrificing his life. Like, he has to fight his own Sadal force, and he has to basically he knows he's going to die, you know what I mean? But it's like his last thing, you know, I'm sorry I didn't join the tournament with you, brother, and I'm sorry I wasn't there for you, but here, you know, I'm going to give you my life. Go do what you need to do. Go get who you're going to get. I'll stay here. And he has to basically fight off this whole planet full of Saiyans and Tuffles. That would be a cool moment. I would pop. Dude, I'm popping off my own theories. But
yeah, no, like that's a really cool thought now, and just a general concept. Plus, like, it honestly, one thing that they could do to play this off, just jumping off of what you were talking about, you know, what if they do have some grudge with the Saiyans and everything? It would be really cool if that grudge was towards the Saiyan King from Universe 6, because we do know that he exists. Kaba basically, you know, alluded to him when it came to Vegeta and everything. So if we got some flashbacks or some kind of story building with maybe one way that the Saiyans and the Tuffles basically butted heads before, kind of in the same mirror-like situation that Universe 7 and Universe 6 basically have had going on, and that's why they want to take him over. So it's still that grudge match and that animosity towards Saiyans, but also, you know, the prince or the king of Saiyans at that point with Vegeta and all that stuff that went into that. And then, I mean, like you said, like, yeah, your idea for Renzo is much better. Have Renzo basically fight off Khalifa, maybe even die, so you actually get some sadness and some remorse there, and have Kaba basically escape or go get Champa and Vados, and they bring in people like, for whatever reason, you know, that he has to go get Vegeta or something. They go in and they fight in Universe 6, and that way that you don't necessarily have to, I guess you don't necessarily have to have it be the hugest stakes for our particular universe, but it's still a pretty big fight and battle for everything that's going on. The one thing I really like about this is the whole concept of the invasion of the body snatchers. We don't necessarily do this a lot in Dragon Ball, and it's not like Dragon Ball hasn't ever done anything like this. I mean, the whole peel-off mini arc in Dragon Ball Z is something that's like, and even some arcs and movies from Dragon Ball, you know, they kind of focus more on some sort of the horror aspects of stuff. I mean, hell, like the whole Baba tournament deals with, like, you know, illustrations or kind of interpretations of all the classic monsters: Invincible Man, Vampire, Mummy, all this other stuff. So yeah, they do, and it's a cool concept, like, you know, just kind of changing the tone and everything, because as much as this is like yeah, the stakes are high for this, it still doesn't. We haven't even gotten to a point in this tournament at this point that feels like the stakes are really that high, that we're all gonna die. Like, even though they say it, it doesn't feel like it. But just having that eerie, like something's not right here. And I'd hate to keep bringing it up, but the whole Garlic Jr. mini arc that they did in between, the Frieza saga and basically Frieza coming back in Dragon Ball Z, that filler stuff, like, that was one of the coolest things about that arc, was the very beginning when everyone was basically at Kami House and being completely taken over, and you don't necessarily know what's going on. There's a very eerie sense going on there. I think that they could play off something like that. Plus, just having Kaba, Kale, and Caulifla be the center focus for an episode or two, kind of in the same way they did with Trunks when they brought him back and he was the center focus, even though we're cutting back and forth between, like, there in Universe 7 or something that Goku and everyone else is doing just for, like, comedy's sake, just to kind of show you that we're still in this world, this is still happening. I think it would be really awesome, just kind of giving us more of a horror aspect, not total destruction, not, some distant, far off promise of future destruction or something like that, but something like right here in the moment just doesn't feel right, even though it looks normal. And I think that would be pretty cool.
Before we get into the baby stuff, I just want to say this. I do agree with you about the whole Garlic Jr. stuff, because let's face it, even though a lot of the filler arcs that we get usually suck, the story is usually pretty good. An example of what I mean by this is, like, look at the Patafu stuff. Now, the Patafu stuff, even though people, hated it, which I can see why, the idea that, long ago, supposedly, like, the people who inhabited that planet, they created some weapon to be able to, like, it takes over their enemies. So, like, if they ever enter into, like, a holy war or to a world war or something that affects everything, they have that secret weapon to kind of, like, be the thing for them. But it got too out of hand, so they had to lock it up, and like, different people guard it. You know what that kind of reminds me of, right? Prince of Darkness, bro. The John Carpenter movie.
Yeah.
Before man walked the earth, it slept for centuries. It is evil. It is real. It's awakening, So I kind of like, they have a lot of cool ideas, for, like, the filler stuff in Dragon Ball, but a lot of it ends up hurting, the story, because people end up hating it or it's not executed properly. But anyways, back to the baby stuff. I think, moving on from, like, where, like, I guess, like, Renzo and them, Renzo tries to save Kaba and stuff. Kaba leaves. Whether he's able to cross the universe on his own, who knows what type of technology they have, or whether, he has to go to Vados or Champa. Either way, getting Goku and Vegeta or whoever else wants to accompany them, on this trip to, like, save Universe 6, that's a really, really cool idea, because one thing that GT did do right was Baby. So having Baby again, kind of like, in a different, I guess, like, a different take on his character, because the Tuffle will still be around, so he'll have his empire. He'll be, like, the top guy. He'll be wanting to take over the entire universe. And plus, can you imagine if we have, like, Baby, like, at one point go up against, like, Hit or something? The possibilities are fucking endless, dude, on what you could do. The type of mark out moments that you could introduce in an arc like this. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but so many cool things could happen just from this. The different takes, the development, having Vegeta actually interact with Baby, because we didn't get that for too long. He got to interact with Baby in Gohan's body, and then of course he was taken over. Here we'll have regular Vegeta interacting with the entity known as Baby, and who knows if they keep him similar to what he was in GT. But again, so many possibilities they can go off of here.
The one thing I would definitely change about Baby is, one of the things they mentioned in Dragon Ball GT was the fact that Baby didn't necessarily live in everyone's body. He infected it. Something about, like, seeds or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, he planted, like eggs in
that's
them or
why
something
Boo.
like that.
Yeah, like, that's why Boo was never infected, because he just kicked those little things out. Because, yeah, Boo's always been hacks, guys. Boo's always been super hacks. But I think that it would be cool to basically change it so, like, Baby lived and became the consciousness of everyone that he infected. And I don't necessarily change that. I mean, that's essentially what it was, but you can't destroy him, because instead of him being, like, one entity and basically mind controlling everyone else, he just lived and became, like, he's one being of an entire whole, instead of infecting Vegeta and basically being Vegeta. Because the cool thing, the one reason I like that is because if you do that, you create this situation where Vados or Champa or Beerus or Whis can't basically come in and Hakai one thing, like, and it just be done with it. Like, that becomes an issue where, like, you don't know where he is or who he's taken over or just how many people he's taken over. So in order to fight him, you have to figure out a way to... like, that would be the cool things, like, how do you neutralize that? And that would also bring in, like, maybe they could bring in Boo to basically help them along with that or something. Like, do something where it's a little bit harder for them to basically take him out, and it makes it like, yeah, so you don't necessarily have to have Vegeta be taken over if you don't want to do that, or maybe you can have Hit be taken over if you want to do that, or Frost or something like that, and endanger the entire world. Or maybe, you know, just maybe, although I think a lot of people would think this is an ass pull, but just kind of up the stakes again, he could take over Beerus or something, like Champa or something, and then you're like, oh crap, like what's going to happen now, and you up the stakes even that much more. I think that there's a lot of potential to be had there, and Baby, for the most part, yeah, if you, like you said, if you have him or the Tuffles have some kind of grudge match with the Saiyans, then you have a much bigger situation where he can, maybe there is that similarity in the stories, the backstories of like how this actually affected him and everything, and why he's sympathetic but also just kind of a prick.
You know, you brought it up. I just want to say, can you imagine how cool it would be? You're the one over here breaking down the story. I'm just marking out for stuff you're saying. Imagine how cool it would be, like, if, you know, obviously Kaba, Vegeta, and Goku show up, and they're like the three, you know, like maybe like Gohan or whoever else, you know, or hopefully if there's a time skip by then, have like Pan and Oob, you know, fighting like the other warriors, like the people like the Saiyans that have been taken over. You have those three make it towards, like, you know, the end, and they're, you know, they're about to face off like the leader of the Tuffles, you know, Baby and all that shit. Have like him go, well, there's still someone else, and then like he presses like a button, and like out of like this dark shadow comes Hit, and then like everyone's just like, you gotta be shitting me. Like, he took over Hit. And, like, you know, Vegeta and Kaba are like, what do we do? And then Goku's like, I'll handle this, right? So Goku goes blue. So then you have the fated final round, you know, the third round, Hit versus Goku. But this Hit, he doesn't like Goku, you know what I mean? He's going to kill him. So now we actually get to see what can Goku do against an unrestrained Hit who is out to kill him, you know what I mean? Because remember, even before in episode 71, Vados goes, oh, he's not the assassin Hit, he's the martial artist Hit. And it kind of zoomed in on Hit, like, smiling, so in a way, he could have killed Goku. If you think about it, if he wanted to. He was just having fun fighting his friend. Here, this is going to be a Hit who's been taken over, and he's going to want to go at Goku's throat and just end it. So it would be cool where you get, like, maybe Kaba and Vegeta handle the main boss, right? Which I'm sure everyone would love. People would love that. And then you have Goku kind of dueling it out with his next rival, you know, his long-awaited rival in Super, you know, and Hit, you know what I mean? So I think that would be, like, a real cool, and you can paint a pretty poetic picture there, you know?
Yeah, I think that's just a great idea. One thing to just jump off there, probably one of the last things, is just the idea of having an antagonist or an antagonizing force that is more than just one person or two people. I know we're going into a huge tournament arc and we have teams or everything else, but just having like a situation where maybe Caulifla, Kale, Hit, Frost, Vegeta, Botamo, like all these people that we know, and maybe even as the arc goes on, yeah, Vegeta or somebody that we know from our universe gets taken over, and then you just kind of whittle down the amount of people who are actually able to fight. And I don't like to keep bringing it up, but it's probably the closest interpretation of this that we got in all of Dragon Ball. That's one of the coolest things, even though it's kind of god-awful to get through, but one of the coolest things about the Garlic Jr. arc is, you know, for a moment there, it's like Gohan versus everyone, and it feels dire. Like, the whole situation feels very dire. But then, you know, they just ass pull it, and, you know, Piccolo and Krillin aren't necessarily evil. They've just been beating up a kid, which is real masculine.
No, I completely agree with you. Like, the idea would just be dire. Like, again, depending on like what time period this arc takes place in. Like, if you want to have Pan and Oob there, or like Gohan and them, they're fighting these warriors. But remember, these aren't just regular Frieza jabronis. These are evolved Saiyans. You know what I mean? These are evolved freedom fighters who actually...
They're characters we know.
Yeah.
I think
so
that,
then
that's
the big one there. So you have like Gohan versus Kalivi. You have like, you know, all these people going at it. You know, they're trying to fight off these warriors. Again, these are not just your average soldier. These are like actual fighters here. So there's actually some stakes in it. Whereas like in ROF, like you have Piccolo fighting these jabronis. You're like, Piccolo should just be able to take them out quickly. Here, you don't know that. We don't know. Like, these people are strong. They've trained. They're part of this adult force. You know, there's actually something about that makes this a dire situation. You have Goku and Hit. Like, if we're going off our own fanfic arc here, you have Goku and Hit. That's a dire situation because Goku's never fought an unrestrained Hit who just went out to kill him, you know, because again, like I pointed out in 71, you know, Hit wasn't acting as an assassin. He was being like the martial artist. He was basically just sparring with Goku. So you have Goku fighting this unrestrained Hit who's been taken over, and then you have like the final battle. You know, you have, you know, the leader of the Tuffles taking on, you know, Vegeta and Kaba, and you have like Kaba trying to protect his race, his family, and his home, and then you have Vegeta being the actual prince of the Saiyans trying to do his thing. So there is like a lot of dire in that whole situation, you know.
It becomes a really terrible situation, but at the same time thrilling, I think, and not necessarily so dark that Dragon Ball Super wouldn't do it, but just gives us kind of a lot of eye candy. And, you know, you and I could sit around and talk with this about like for 20 more minutes, just kind of coming up with really cool things that we'd like to see. But one of the things we're going to do right now is we're going to basically let you guys talk about that in the comment section below. We want to hear all y'all's thoughts about what we've talked about here. Anything that we missed, any cool other fights that would be there, or any other story points that make more sense than what we are basically talking about. And before we go, I just want to make sure MJ doesn't have any other awesome mark out moments from if they introduce Baby into Dragon Ball Super, what would happen?
He has to kill Piccolo. Piccolo just has to die. Yeah. Just one more time. Just one more time.
Just one more time. He's already died so many times, but just one more time. But okay. Guys, with that being said, please make sure to go down to the description section below. Hit that link. Go check out MJ. Make some really awesome content for you guys. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure to hit that bell in order to get notifications for whenever I upload, because you don't want to miss anything. Anyway, guys, with that being said, we're going to catch y'all in the next video.